Holy shit, they just canceled the Cybertruck range extender. Wait, I'm not surprised. Yes, as it turns out, the Cybertruck range extender has been officially canceled. Now, about a month ago, Kyle and I did a whole deep dive discussion, which I'll link below on this channel, on the range extender being quietly removed from the Tesla website. It felt like kind of an Apple AirPower situation. Now, as it turns out, they haven't gotten full Apple AirPower because that would mean a product was introduced and then quietly never made and just acted like it was never existing in the first place. Instead, they have officially canceled it via an email. But in an email to customers, there's the subject line, "Update to your Cybertruck range extender order." It states, "Thank you for being a Cybertruck owner. We are no longer planning to sell the range extender for Cybertruck. As a result, we will be refunding your deposit in full. The amount will be returned to the original payment method used for the transaction. Thank you for your understanding, the Tesla team." I think there's probably going to be some non-understanding. That's bold of them to assume you understand, because there is no actual reason for why it's canceled from Tesla themselves. And this, I think, leads to an issue of mistrust from owners, such as Kyle has a Cybertruck at the moment. Many people have ordered this thing 5+ years ago with certain promises. And then finally, a year and a half ago, when they had the official event, people were able to finally finalize their order and build it, the configuration. And then many people took delivery of sort of a configuration. But even at delivery, a bunch of things you thought should be in the truck weren't in the truck. I mean, FSD came way later, the light bar came way later, locking differential came way later. We've done a lot of content on the Cybertruck, both in praise of it, because it is actually objectively a pretty awesome car, and personally, probably my favorite electric truck to drive, to spend time with, but it's had its fair share of issues. So this whole thing summarized with overpromise, underdeliver, that seems to be a continuous thing with Tesla. And a lot of people have noted I am a Tesla fan. I don't really want to say that. I'm just a fan of good products, and I think a lot of things they do are really, really good. They have some of the best software, the best ADAS in the US. No other company comes close, at least that's publicly available. Impressive efficiency, ride quality, comfort. But yeah, they're not class leading in some other ways. There's a reason there's a huge slew of EVs now, and I'm glad to see competition. But the range extender just seems to add to a heap of ideas that have not really come to fruition. Do we think Roadster reservation holders, people that put $250,000 down 7-8 years ago, do we think they'll have their payment reissued back as a refund if that doesn't come out? I don't know. I think Tesla is still really working on the Roadster, and I think they have been trying to work on this range extender, and it just didn't come to fruition. Kyle had even heard that they were still working on it somewhat recently. So like, they just really built up so much hype around the range extender capabilities and how the Cybertruck would get close-ish to its original claimed range of 500 miles, but they just couldn't do it. GM is close to 500 miles with multiple pickup trucks. Of course, they did that by just having huge batteries, which honestly is the way Tesla should have done it, and honestly the way Rivian should have done the Max Pack. Just give us more batteries for the people who actually need it. I get all the arguments against having like battery waste or like too much range, too much batteries, but there's a lot of people who really do use their trucks, and the way they've advertised the Cybertruck as being a workhorse, you know, on construction sites, at space launch yards, I mean, all the ways that you've seen the marketing, you really wish they would have just a really brute force 200+ kilowatt-hour truck. And they didn't, and they should have. There's a lot of issues with the range extender that we theorized in that initial video when they removed it from the website, but I'll kind of touch on a couple of them here. I mean, for one, charging, it'd be a really complex solution, not unsolvable, but complex to make sure it charges correctly alongside the other battery pack. It's really just like managing two different battery packs. How would the DC-DC conversions be done? How would it handle on AC versus DC charging? How would the utilization of the batteries be done? Would they kind of drain in parallel, or like one be turned on after the other is almost depleted? Then there's the issue of it taking up a bunch of space in the bed, which yes, not everyone needs a truck bed that big. I will give them that, but it still takes away somewhat drastically from someone who may actually need it. And statistically, if someone does need the range extender for like towing, it means they're probably a super user for their truck, which means they probably also want the bed space. And there's just no way to have both. Then of course there's the weight. Sure, yes, Cybertruck is technically like one of the lightest electric trucks when you compare it to F-150 Lightning, Silverado EV, Rivian even. But adding all that weight in one spot just kind of seems like not the most efficient or effective solution. I was actually looking around this parking lot and I don't see a Cybertruck, which is interesting because I see a lot of Cybertrucks in parking lots here in LA. But another thing I want to point out is the issue of payload. This battery pack, which we estimate would have to be roughly 40 something kilowatt hours, it would take away precious payload capacity from the Cybertruck. With all that extra payload that is now battery, that might also affect the amount that you can carry as far as tongue weight from a trailer. So that even also conflicts with towing, which is something you'd want the extra battery for in the first place. Of course, many people have noted in the teardown video that Sandy Monroe did, there was a lot of extra space kind of in the battery pack area, although that could be a safety solution. Not really sure what that's there for, but I guess, yes, that could have been used for extra battery cells, and maybe that's something they were even testing. Who knows? There's not a lot of transparency with Tesla, and that's one of my big issues with the company. On one hand, there's like too much transparency when they have, you know, Elon tweeting about a lot of things that maybe he shouldn't have been over the years. But I don't know if that's transparency as much as just blatant like, oh, let's do this, and then the whole team's like, wait, maybe not. And that might have been the range extender. For all we know, maybe there might have been people at Tesla from the very beginning being like, this is a silly solution, or not a solution at all, and possibly Elon or someone else maybe just kept pushing for it because they really felt like they had to get that promised range. I say promise with an asterisk because even with the range extender, they still couldn't hit the 500 miles they originally promised. So it makes me wonder, I mean, a lot of people have notably canceled their Cybertruck orders or have sold their Cybertruck. Sometimes that's because of maybe political perception. It could also be some of the recalls. I mean, there's just a lot of fear and uncertainty surrounding the Cybertruck. There's also a lot of fandom. A lot of people love their Cybertruck. I've actually loved driving ours quite a bit, and it still is, like I said, my favorite truck to probably live with, even though I do think it's not the prettiest. I like the looks of Rivian personally. But it makes me wonder what will happen with other range extender products, like, you know, the upcoming Scout, which will have a gas range extender, and there's also the Ram situation. So will those come out and actually adhere to their promises? And will some Tesla Cybertruck reservation holders, people who are maybe about to order but were waiting on the range extender, maybe they'll now cancel? I'd be really curious to see the sales data if we have liberty to access any of that after we see the fallout of this whole situation. So let me know what you think. Again, refer to that other video with me and Kyle that was a whole half hour of us nerding out about a lot of range extender things. But I'm really curious what you guys think. Is this a deal breaker for you if you were on the fence about a Cybertruck? Were any of you looking for it because of the range extender and now you're looking elsewhere? I'm definitely curious, and I'm not entirely surprised. I figured once they removed it from the website, the range extender was going to be no more. I'm just confused about why there was a month disparity between it being removed from the website and then the email being sent out to actual customers, or I guess reservation holders, people who are about to order. I sure see a lot of Cybertrucks out here in LA, and almost all of them are wrapped. It makes me really excited actually to see like a stainless steel Cybertruck. I'm like, wow, that's how they came originally. Imagine if everyone wrapped their refrigerators to the extent that people wrap their Cybertrucks. You just show up to someone's house and it's like, boom, purple refrigerator.